The narrative right now is really interesting because we're seeing a bit of a shift when it comes to the Nintendo narrative online. What was once this very clear cut, very straightforward narrative of Nintendo just can't remain competitive with other platforms has kind of shifted into this weird parody of itself in which everyone online, every time we get a new Nintendo game, whether it's Princess Peach Showtime or Mario Wonder or Tears of the Kingdom or the recently released Mario and Luigi Brothership, every single time you have everyone screaming at you about how the game, no one is talking about it, nobody cares about the game, nobody plays it, it failed, even though games like Mario Wonder and Tears of the Kingdom have outperformed the games that people are saying are far more popular. Baldur's Gate 3 being one obvious example, but this extends to a number of other titles, including Elden Ring, Starfield, Hogwarts Legacy. Like, the recent Nintendo games are clearly more popular than any of that. But the narrative cannot bring itself to face it. So with every new major release, we go through this same old song and dance, this tired, exhausting, completely fabricated narrative that nobody is talking about the new Nintendo release. And this is, of course, like a complete cope. But people say it so often and are so vehement about it that it really does seem that there are more people talking about how no one is talking about these games than there are actual people talking about it. And it's not because of like the game being poorly received or the game's being bad. It's entirely because the people who are talking about the game are playing through these 40-hour long titles, sometimes longer, and, like, without wanting to be spoiled on critical plot elements. I can tell you with Mario and Luigi Brothership, there are a lot of things that you don't want to be spoiled on. So as a result of that, yeah, of course, people aren't going to be talking about the game online, right? And I do think this is the mindset that people really need to realize when doing this is that the people who are talking about a game day one, who are like shitting on it and trying to say that it's terrible, these people aren't the target audience. Because even if you don't end up liking the game, it's going to take you a while to play through it, right? Like, with me with Pikmin 4, it took me like what, like 30 hours to get through the entire thing and then to call it shit, right? The one game in recent memory that I did not really like that much, Pikmin 4, it took me a while to come out and start like shitting on that game for like being the complete abomination for what it was, right? Just an example, right? But why exactly are all of these people just obsessively trying to gaslight you into thinking Tears of the Kingdom doesn't innovate? Like, again, like a lot of the things that they try to tell you are completely and utterly wrong, right? Case in point, the narrative about Mario Wonder, right? Going into this, so many people were trying to tell us that, like, it's just a new Super Mario Bros. Game. Like, first of all, the new Super Mario Bros. Games were very successful, very popular, and very well made, right? New Super Mario Bros. Was phenomenal. And Wonder was being compared to them should be seen as a good thing. But for some reason, the gaming community has somehow gaslit themselves into thinking that the iconic 2D Mario platforming series is some kind of blemish on the history of the character. And this is simply an online cope. These games are not lower quality compared to other Mario games. They're very, very good. They're insanely memorable, popular. People talk and remember them about them all the time, right? And yet, there's this pervasive online narrative that's persisted for over a decade that nobody likes these games, that they're a disappointment, that nobody cares about them. When in reality, I think these games were a major entry point for a lot of people in the community. Like New Super Mario Bros. Was phenomenal, and so was Mario Wonder. But the post release period for Mario Wonder led to all these really weird contrived situations. People saying it was a failure, people saying that nobody was talking about it, people saying that it wasn't Game of the Year 2023. People pretending that Baldur's Gate 3 sold better. It did not. Uh, People saying that the game was just a rehash, that it didn't innovate or do anything new. Like all of these statements, all of these arguments were a complete and utter cope. And this is just one example. When you look at like everything else Nintendo has been putting out, like you see a very similar pattern of people coming out and obsessively trying to gaslight you into thinking that nobody cares about the Nintendo Switch anymore. And I do think this is like the main reason why this is happening now is that people are very terrified at the idea of Nintendo Switch finally eclipsing the PlayStation 2. Because once that happens, there will no longer be any gaslighting or deflecting or downplaying Nintendo consoles. There just will not be a recovery for for the narrative after this. If people were to gradually realize that, like, wait a minute, Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't have any publicly posted sales numbers, that its player counts uh, would not be as high as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's or Animal Crossing New Horizons or Breath of the Wilds or any of the other major Nintendo games. Pokemon probably has a higher player count than Baldur's Gate 3 does right now, right? uh, you know, when you actually look at the sales numbers, when you look at like how quickly Nintendo's been able to put out new content, like I see people bragging about Baldur's Gate 3 getting patched. Meanwhile, Nintendo is putting out like entirely new games in the Zelda lineup. Echoes of Wisdom was phenomenal, but all you hear is people desperately trying to downplay the game and its significance. Being a top-down Zelda, having traditional dungeons, having like all of these things that just make the game an absolute masterclass of game design. Like, no, we have to brush all that under the rug to keep the narrative going that nobody is talking about Nintendo right now. And what they're doing seems to be fixating on this idea that the new console is going to fix this problem. The new console is going to come out, and the Switch, Nintendo is going to be popular again. They're going to reverse their dying brand. Hey, guess what? The instant that they release the new Nintendo console, the instant that they announce it, the same people are going to complain and whine about that, right? That is what's going to happen. Let's not let's not mince words. Let's not downplay the situation. Let's emphasize the reality of what's going to happen. When the new Nintendo console gets announced, these people, quote unquote, these people are absolutely going to hate it.